Good afternoon. I call to order the November 18th, 2025 meeting of the Finance Committee. I am Finance Committee Vice Chair Nick Howland. Chair Arias should be here probably about 1:30. We will start the meeting with introductions. Brittany, you're first, please.
Brittany Norris for the administration.
Colleen Hampsey, Council Research.
Mary Stefopoulos, Office of General Counsel.
Philip Peterson, Council Auditor's Office.
Kim Taylor, Council Auditor.
Ron Salem, Group 2 at large.
Nick Howland, at large, Group 3.
Joe Carlucci, District 5.
Will Lane in District 3.
Jacoby Pittman, Omega District 10.
Matt Carlucci at large, Group 4, just visiting.
All right, welcome, Mr. Carlucci. And do we have any speaker cards for public comment? Looks like we do. We've got 3 minutes each. It'll first be Mr. Velasquez, I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that, followed by Mr. Oliver. Sir, name, address, and you got 3 minutes, please.
Yep. Ruben Velasquez, address on file. I serve as the training coordinator for North Florida Sheet Metal Workers Joint Apprenticeship and Training Committee, a tuition-free 4-year registered apprenticeship program. I'm here today to respectfully request that our apprenticeship program be considered as one of the recipients of Bill 7801. My apologies. Our training program trains the next generation of skilled HVAC and sheet metal professionals at no cost to the students, providing a direct pathway into a high-demand, high-wage career with no student debt. We serve individuals from across Jacksonville and the surrounding counties, many of whom rely on our program, on programs like ours to enter the workforce, support their families, and contribute to our local economy. Any support made available through this bill would immediately strengthen our ability to train more apprentices, expand our workforce, and meet the growing workforce needs of our region. I respectfully ask that you consider the North Florida Sheet Metal Workers, JATC, as a funding partner under the bill. Your support would directly enhance workforce development, economic mobility, and skilled labor pipeline that our community depends on. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Velasquez. Next up is Mr. Oliver, followed by Mr. Nooney. And for the speakers, please keep your comments to an item that is on the agenda. Mr. Oliver, please.
I want to apologize. Vice Chair, I may not have the current legislation that I want to speak to in front of me, but I want to really focus my interest on the museum named after Black African American, not black African American, but Black American. If I use the right words the right way, I'll show the significance of how serious I am.
Mr. Oliver, name and address, please. Sorry about that.
Cardinal Oliver, address is on file. I want to raise a point of order. I support having Black Americans recognized, but what I have a problem with is having signs put up showing oppression against Black Americans. This is not a symbolic gesture, but I reached out to the legislative services. They gave me a bill that was passed earlier this year. Every committee member, including the mayor's office, signed off on giving the part to a humane society, something dealing with animals. I'm still trying to comb through that legislation because the problem I have, if we're trying to build this city forward, why are we allowing, this is an official grievance based on my constitutional rights, why we have signs that show the oppression in this community? It makes me question certain things. Why do we still name this city after Andrew Jackson? Maybe we need to start a petition to change the name of this city. We need to take down certain elements in this city that show oppression, like the statue of Andrew Jackson. If you want to create unity, that needs to be an effort put forward that dismantles white supremacy. And that is my number one problem. You want to uplift Black Americans, but you still allow people and organizations to put forward signage, high schools, name not the oppression. People that came into place and took away the right of freedom. I'm a person that believes in the republic, a citizen legislature, as much as I've grown as a person. But when I see stuff like that, especially on Duval and Main Street, that is a big problem. We got to really start addressing the message of this city. It's not getting us nowhere when you constantly allow this kind of behavior to happen.
All right, thank you, Mr. Oliver. I gave you significant leeway because there's 3 items on second read related to history, MOSH, oral history, and a historical survey. So you got lucky there. Mr. Nooney, please stick with the agenda.
Hello, I am John J. Nooney. My address is in the docket. Case number 2023-0819, 8356 Bascom Road, Jacksonville, Florida, 32216, City Council District 4, CPAC Planning District 3, School Board District 3. I'll touch on agenda items 1, 2, 4, 5. Number 10, 2025-0810, increase it to $50,000. Agenda items 13, 14, 16, 19, 20, 21. Just a show of hands. How many of you watch Perry Mason and Dragnet reruns? Okay. 2025-0813. Okay, just down to 2 minutes. Okay. Now, this one, we have a settlement agreement. It's with OGC. And I'm wearing my Guinness shirt. It's the official Guinness Council. This is a request of OGC, the official Guinness Council. I'm in. Pour me one. Okay. This, appropriating $175,000, double it. Put me on the witness stand. I'm ready. But at this point, no, I'm just down to 1:25. But no, this is just the beginning of stuff. So anyway, we got a settlement agreement. Again, just double it. And as far as the other agenda items, I'm only just down to a minute. But it all has to do with the waterways. And, it has to do with JSEB. It has to do with really just moving the city forward. In our waterways. I just want to share these. Okay, here we got the St. Johns River Alliance, October 27th, 2025. This is brand new. Here's River Dance, putting the river in River City. That's 2005. We got the Northeast Florida Regional Council. You got Find, that's our ad valorem property tax money. And then, of course, here's the Resilient Jacksonville. Now, I'm in this thing 4 times. The biggest takeaway is that public access on our waterways is the worst ever. So on those agenda items, 2017-160, public participation was taken away, so you have to combine it all. Council President, thank you for the 3 minutes. And let's visit Jacksonville.
All right, thank you, Mr. Nooney. That concludes public comment. We next go to Council Auditor Ms. Kim Taylor for 3 reports. Over to you, Ms. Taylor.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the chair to the committee, the first one that we issued was the tax collector's audit, and this was on the remittance of city funds coming from the tax collector to us. Just so you know, there is municipal code guidance that all taxes, fines, and fees that come to the city should go through the tax collector and then come over to be remitted. So there was a total of $3.39 billion in 23-24 that came through the tax collector, of which we audited the city portion, which was $2.46 billion. And we actually looked at all of the transactions because systematically it was easier to do that. So overall, looking at whether they accurately remitted and timely remitted, we did not, overall, they met that objective. We did note just a few internal control weaknesses that we recommended and they agreed to address. I'll just mention those quickly. Insufficient documentation for some of their remittance procedures. Some of those for some of the city dollars, you can imagine all the different fees, just tightening up those procedures and having those in writing and approved by management so that when others are out, that those get distributed to the city appropriately. Insufficient procedures for adding, updating, and removing access to systems for employees. You hear that routinely, that we do have that on most of our audits, so just tightening that down so that they do have the right people, and if people have come back, maybe on a part-time basis, that they don't have the same level of control that they did previously, things like that. Issues with return payments, service fees being inconsistent with the written policies, just addressing that to get that in sync. And then just whenever sometimes there's a manager that may have to also approve voiding transactions when there's nobody else that can do it, so there's not a secondary oversight over that, of just documenting that and implementing a secondary review to ensure that that's always in place for voids. That's it really for the tax collector. Like I said, overall they met their objectives and we didn't have any significant issues other than those internal control weaknesses.
All right, any questions for Ms. Taylor on the tax collector audit? Seeing none?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next report was our annual budget summary report, and you'll find that online. We've also emailed it to you when we sent it out. I won't go through it. It just summarizes all of the actions that the Finance Committee took during the hearings, that the council took. It gives you a lot of the schedules that you'll see during the budget hearings, especially that day one summary. It gives you the final numbers, so it's a good reference point. And if at any point you can't get a hold of us and you need some information and you need to refer to a schedule, it's got a lot of the departmental expenses summarized, the revenues. It's got the employee cap, all of those big points it's got in there, as well as the CIP. So it's just a good reference for you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thanks, Ms. Taylor. Mr. Landon, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. And through Chair to Ms. Taylor, just want to say thank you again for your team, and to my colleagues. If you look at this on page 4, Kim kind of sneaks it in there, but says that through their initial review, they had recommendations that increased revenues by $5.6 million and reduced expenditures by $4.5. So just with their initial review, we had $10 million from their expertise of going through every line item. So again, just thanks for all the budget support you give us. And I mean, that's an amazing number, $10 million just through your hard work of going through line item by line item, that we could just adopt your recommendations and start out $10 million ahead before we really even got into it. So thank you.
All right, seeing no other speakers in the queue, Ms. Taylor, thank you. And final report, please.
The last one is the Sheriff's Investigative Fund, and this is for the fiscal year 21-22. We do these every year, but we have to wait on their internal audit area. They do a review as well, so that's why that's the most recent year that we have. Basically, per Florida statute, they need to have someone to look at this and make sure that they're following all the regulations there. So this one gets cost recovery from when folks are convicted of crimes where JSO has costs related to those investigations, so they get reimbursement from that. And those funds have to be used in a certain manner per the Florida statutes this is used to fund narcotics and vice-related activities. So what we did on this attestation was determining compliance with the Florida statute, using it appropriately, which they did, that controls are in place to safeguard these funds because they have about $1.4 million in total. So we look at those controls, and those were in place. And then they have a schedule of all the receipts and disbursements, and we pull transactions on a sample basis For example, making sure, they're pulling out cash constantly to do drug buys and things like that with narcotics. So it's accounting for all of that cash within that fund. We just had one internal control weakness that we wrote up in our report, and that was related to a donation that they actually happened to receive related to going to that fund, which was an unusual item, and it wasn't deposited timely either. So we just recommended that they do establish procedures, which they agree and they have done, to address any time that they do receive a donation for this fund. And that was all that we had. If you have any questions.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Seeing no speakers on the queue, that concludes the auditor reports. We'll go next to the agenda, and the way we will do it is we'll start at the top of the agenda today with item number 1. When we get to item number 5, which is 2025-0781, we will skip it, and we'll take it up when Chair Arias gets here. So we'll start with item number 1, 2024-0627. That is deferred at the request of Councilmember Diamond. Item number 2, 2024-0966, deferred at the request of the Council President. Item number 3, 2025-0361, deferred at the request of Councilman White. Item number 4, 2025-0775, deferred at the request of Councilman Carlucci. And item number 5 will skip. We'll go to item number 6, 2025-0806. We'll entertain a motion on the bill. We have a motion and a second on the bill. I'll invite Mr. Norman up to give us a brief, please, on this one. And if you're so inclined, you can address the next 2 items as well.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Through the chair, Todd Norman. I'm the Chief of Employee and Labor Relations at the city. I'm also the lead negotiator for the city with our 5 city unions. So what you have before you today are bills regarding the 3 civilian unions we have at the city. Those of CWA, AFSCME, and LIUNA. Collectively, they represent about 2,600 city employees, everything from solid waste to library professionals. I'm happy to say that after starting bargaining in about December of last year, we reached in August what I think are employee fair and city budget-friendly contracts. I'll go through a couple of the financial highlights and happy to answer any questions as well. So wage increases, obviously always a big issue. We did agree to wage increases in all 3 years, 4% year 1, 3% in years 2 and 3 respectively. We also had reached a deadlock on wages. The union still wanting additional wage increases, the city having drawn the line at the 433. We're looking for alternatives and came up with a kind of an out-of-the-box solution, and that is a small one-time premium payment in year 2 of the contracts. So this time next year, a little bit before now, October 2026, employees with greater than 5 years of service in these unions will receive $500 as a one-time premium payment. Those under 5 years of service will receive $250. That payment is less than a 1% wage increase. It's also non-recurring, and it also recognizes employees that come here and stay. So we think that was a win-win. Parking was a huge issue, especially for employees assigned downtown. $60 to $100 a month for some of our folks on the lower end of the wage scale. It's quite a pill to swallow every month. We agreed for the first time to put a parking supplement in the contracts, $60 every quarter, so effectively paying for about 1 month's free parking every quarter. We also talked a lot about the lowest paid workers. By Florida statute, we have to move to $15 an hour next September 30th. We still have about 200 employees that each year have been moved up because of that hurdle. And we agreed to accelerate that process at the city. We're going to move everyone up by April the 1st. So proud to say that we'll have those folks at $15 an hour earlier than we otherwise would have been required. Also, when we have had discussion in some of the other committees, this wasn't just one-way bargaining. I give credit to the unions. They came to the table. We talked a lot about one of the biggest issues facing the city, and that is the high cost of health care and the financial stress on our health plans. One of the limiting factors to additional premium gathering by the city was in these contracts, and that is if an employee was not in one of the city's no-cost plans. So they're in one of the other plans, which is the majority of employees. They only paid 5% of the total premium towards their employee-only portion of the care. The city picked up 95%. that was limited by contract. Under these agreements, in a tiered structure, we have the latitude to raise that to a 30% employee contribution by the end of the contracts. Very significant. And I must say, it's not lost on the administration at all that this is an additional employee cost. So we want to be very cognizant of giving with one hand and taking away with the other. But healthcare is such a big issue that we wanted to have the latitude that this might be one of the levers that needs to be pulled at some point to help our health plans out. And again, to the credit of the unions, they came to the table. To give you a sense, each 5% that we raise it is about $15 per employee, or about $390 annually. $15 per paycheck per employee, or about $390 annually. And really, one of the side effects that we think will be even more impactful is if that gets raised, and again, no decisions have been made along those lines, more employees may choose to go to one of our very very diverse and good plans that are no cost. So that cost goes up, the employee chooses to go to UF Health. That could end up being a win-win, and from the city standpoint, that saves a whole lot more money than the $390. It saves thousands. So there may be two sides to the savings there. But again, no decisions have been made, and we're very cognizant of the impact on the employees. Those are really the financial highlights. I'm happy to answer any questions from the committee.
All right, thank you, Mr. Norman. We have two members on the queue. We'll start with Mr. Lanin, followed by Dr. Salem.
Thank you, Chair. And through the Chair, thank you, Mr. Norman. Thanks for meeting with me separately to go over this. I just want to point out to the Finance Committee members, there is a cost to this. So if you recall, we had a projected next year deficit of $62 million, but a 5-year deficit of $80 million, meaning most of the deficit is just in next year. With the Vestcor land swap deal we approved last committee meeting, we reduced that deficit to $57 million, but this adds $10 million. So we're back up to $67 million. Just a reminder, next year, $48 million of that $67 million is previously committed downtown cash completion grants. So that's kind of the cash completion grant cliff that we're facing next year, that they're all coming up pretty much the same year, making up the vast majority of what our projected deficit is. So again, I just want to point that out because I think as we go through the year, we need to, anything that has a Schedule B3 impact that increases or decreases the deficit, we need to talk about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lanin, for spelling that out. Over to Dr. Salem.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to comment that as we go through the health care plan through our DOGE committee, I'm very pleased that we've got potential several $1 million in savings as these increases, if they're implemented, go into place. And I'm also pleased to hear the unions recognize we have a problem with our health care expenses. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Salem. For the auditor's question, no other speakers in the queue. To Mr. Lanin's point, it's going to add $10 million to the budget deficit next year. Do we know how much it's going to add over the course of the Schedule B3, by chance?
Through the chair, or to the chair, the impact to 25-26 was budgeted and/or will be absorbed. The small additional costs, so no impact this year. Mr. Lanin was correct. We estimate about $9.6 million in 27, and then about $12.6 million in 28.
Thank you very much. That means all the more important that when we find pockets of value or leftover money, we should focus as a higher priority, particularly this committee, on trying to pay down future budget deficits. Very good. Then we have no other speakers in the queue. We have a motion and a second on the table for 2025-0806. Let's open the ballot and record your vote.
Five yeas, 0 nays.
By your vote, 2025-0806 passes. We'll move to item 7, 2025-0807. We have a motion and a second on the bill. Seeing no speakers in the queue, Mr. Norman's still here if anyone has any additional questions. Seeing none, let's open the ballot and record your vote.
5 yeas, 0 nays.
By your vote, 2025-0807 passes. We move next to item number 8, 2025-0808. We have a motion and a second on the bill. No speakers on the queue. Let's open the ballot and record your vote.
5 yeas, 0 nays.
By your vote, 2025-0808 passes. Mr. Norman, thank you so much for all that information. We move next to item number 9, 2025-0809. We have a motion and a second on the bill. Mr. Kelly, are you in the queue, or are you in the audience, rather? All right. If you don't mind coming up, I just would love to hear you tell us that this is a previously approved grant, completion grant, rather, come and due, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. And then we'll ask the auditors for clarification.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Steve Kelly of the Downtown Investment Authority. And you are correct. This was funding was previously approved under Ordinance 2019-0596. And this was related to the construction of the FIS building, which we all know has been up and standing for quite some time. There was an economic development agreement that spelled out the terms for the payment of this amount. It had been previously appropriated, but did not carry forward through the budget cycle. So we're reappropriating, we're asking for reappropriation of that funding as they are nearing complete or finalizing the terms of that economic development agreement. We expect it to pay out this year.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kelly. I've got Dr. Salem on the queue.
Thank you, Chair. Just to clarify, it was budgeted, fell into the reserves, and now we're pulling it back out of the reserves to pay it. Is that correct?
Through the chair to Councilman Salem, that's my understanding, yes, sir.
To the auditors, they're nodding their head yes. So just to clarify, thank you.
So unfortunately, this decreases our budgeted reserves by $3.5 million for this year. We hadn't put this in the budget for the year.
Through the chair, to the chair. So going through the budget, I believe we gave a number of about $370 million that was in the reserves. This would reduce that by $3.5 million.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Any other questions? All right. Seeing none, no speakers in the queue. We do have a motion and a second. Let's open the ballot and record your vote.
Five yeas, 0 nays.
By your vote, 2025-0809 passes. Mr. Kelly, thank you. Auditors, thanks for that info. We move next to item number 10, 2025-0810, and we have an amendment. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Mr. Peterson, can you explain, please?
Through the chair, NCSPHS adopted an amendment that would allow 2 or more non-government agencies or organizations to jointly request more than $25,000, but individually be able to receive less than the $25,000. But that would be applying to a same program or initiative, not just bundling requests together.
We have 2 speakers in the queue, Dr. Salem, followed by Ms. Pittman.
Just to remind everybody, this is to prevent the $5,000 and $10,000 appropriations that probably create as much work as a $500,000 grant to try to put a ceiling on it so that the auditors are not spending a ton of time, OGC, on a very small grant.
Thank you, Dr. Salem. Over to Ms. Pittman.
For clarification, you said that's the $5,000 that like the neighborhood organizations that apply for that. Is that the same thing?
Through the chair to Councilwoman Pittman, I believe you're referring to the neighborhood matching grant program that's run through the neighborhoods department. This would not apply to it. This is for single pieces of legislation that come through council. Would be the direct appropriation would be limited to a minimum amount of $25,000.
Okay, for development?
For any direct appropriation.
Okay, just want to make sure I understand. Thank you.
All right, no other speakers in the queue. Before we vote on this amendment, I have a question for Ms. Stefopoulos. So would this amendment mean that if someone decided they wanted to do $30,000 for various workforce development programs, 6 different workforce development programs, that there would be, would the city have to individually contract with each one of those workforce development organizations, all 6 of them within the 30?
To the chair, yes, traditionally that is how we structure those, even if you have an administrative agency. The example that Councilmember Boylan used was the health care services that we've funded, the council has funded through various budgets, where there's an administrative entity and then there's several clinics that operate underneath that umbrella. We do contract with each individual entity. We don't just contract with the administrative agency and then they contract with the underlying entities that are providing the services. So yes, in this instance, similar to how we've addressed those in the past, if there's multiple organizations that are all providing services through the same program, we have contracted with each individual entity.
Then I have a question for Dr. Salem. Does this amendment then, is the amendment at odds with the original bill by reducing the whole point of the bill in the first place, which was to minimize all the small grants that we offer plus the legal and legislative services work?
It was an amendment that came through, I think, neighborhoods by Councilmember Boylan. It seemed reasonable at the time, but I don't want a process that circumvents the $25,000 on a regular basis. Can you help me through the chair to Miss Mary?
Through the chair to Councilmember Salem. So the example that was raised by Councilmember Boylan when he offered it was the 6 clinics that operate under the oversight organization, We Care Jax, for the Jax Care Connect. We haven't traditionally funded that program in any amounts for any of the agencies less than $25,000. So that particular example probably wouldn't trigger the provision that's being added through this amendment. But we've had instances where council members have wanted to fund various fraternal organizations, for example, and if they were all providing a service within a similar program and they each were to receive $10,000, even if there was one that was kind of overseeing it or they were all providing the services through a same program, then that would generate, based on this amendment, the need for an individual contract with each of those organizations.
Do you see this occurring on any kind of regular basis?
Through the chair to Councilmember Salem, it doesn't traditionally occur, certainly not at that low dollar amount. Traditionally, it's going to be higher dollar amounts when you're funding multiple agencies under the same program, but it could occur. So
I would say move forward.
Okay. We have what the chair and I agreed. The chair Arias has just arrived. We'll get through this amendment vote, and then I'll turn it over to him to move the bills amended. Over to Ms. Pittman.
Just wanted to ask one more question. Under the admin cost, since that whatever agency would be over that, would they each have to pay admin costs to cover?
Through the chair to Councilmember Pittman. So traditionally when we talk about administrative costs, if we're granting dollars or if we're doing a direct appropriation, that's a business term that we write into the contract.
Okay.
So this doesn't have anything to do with administrative costs. Okay. It's not tied to that. That's just part of the overall potential for a grant or a direct appropriation that the council has approved.
Okay.
And it's not traditionally, I'll just say this as well, administrative costs aren't automatic. They're something that are requested and the council approves as part of the direct appropriation, but generally speaking, a lot of our grants don't necessarily contain administrative costs. Now, you'll fund operational costs, but with the administrative agencies like We Care Jax, I think there might have been an administrative cost built in, but they were receiving significantly more than $25,000, so it wasn't tied to that.
Just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other speakers in the queue, we do have a motion and a second on the amendment. I've reserved my comments. I'm going to be a no on the amendment, but I'll be a yes on the bill whether the amendment passes or not, simply because to me the beauty of the bill is to relieve administrative work on the part of OGC and legislative services, and the amendment risks additional legislative work. But seeing no other speakers, let's take the vote on the amendment verbally. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All against say no. No. The amendment passes. And before we move, you want me to finish? Okay. We'll entertain a motion to move the bill as amended. We have a motion and a second. Seeing no speakers in the queue, let's open the ballot and record your vote.
Five yeas, 0 nays.
By your vote, 2025-0810 passes, and I turn over the gavel back to the chair.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Sorry for my tardiness today. Had a very important meeting, a couple meetings this morning, but back in action now. So, Ms. Stefopoulos, if you don't mind, please put me in the correct posture to see what we need addressed.
To the chair, so the committee has gotten through all items up to, we were just about to start item number 11, with the exception of 2025-781, which the vice chair skipped over to allow you to be here for that conversation. So you can go back to that item, or you can jump back in at item number 11, which was the next item on the agenda.
All right. Let's go over 781 if that's the case. Let's move back a couple pages to number 5. Yep. 2025-0781.
Move the substitute.
We got a motion and a second on the substitute. All right. And Mr. Peterson, are we going to go over the substitute again, or? I mean, we've all, yeah, let's go ahead. Yeah.
All right, through the chair of the committee, the substitute will identify the oversight departments for each of the different contracts within the bill and the term sheets, correct account information within the bill, and also attach revised BT to get the account information correct. Authorize carryover of funding for the Edward Waters and UNF projects, those are multi-year projects. And attaching a bunch of revised exhibits, first the EWU to include a deadline to complete the project by September 30th of 28, clarifying that the city's audit rights apply to the entirety of the project, requiring EWU to provide support showing that they have evidence of financing before they can begin the project, striking reference to any city funding in 26-27, clarifying the city's proportionate share is no more than 37.5% for design, planning, and permitting of the project. Construction was removed through this NCSPHS substitute. Clarifying the city funds will be dispersed on a reimbursement basis where they have to provide support. For the workforce industrial training term sheet, just clarifying that those funds will reimburse for Duval County residents only. With UNF's term sheet, including a deadline to complete the project September 30th of 27. Once again, clarifying the city's audit rights applying to the entirety of the project. Adding that reimbursements will be on a 50-50 basis, as that's the financing structure for this phase 1 of the project. And also adding that UNF shall provide support showing they have their $6 million in hand to begin the project. Lastly, FSCJ's term sheet, adding language that the purchase price cannot exceed the value identified by an appraisal, and extending the city's recoupment period of the 10 years from when the training institute will begin operations, but it must begin operations no later than 1/1/29.
All right, thank you. I said in neighborhoods yesterday, and I know we went over all of these, and we have already addressed them, which is already reflecting on this substitute. So I have seen no speakers in the queue. Any questions? Anybody else? All right, do we want to adopt the substitute? If that's the case, are we just taking a verbal vote on that part, right? So a verbal vote. All in favor of the substitute indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. All right, substitute passes. Okay, now we are going to move the bill as substitute. Thank you. We have a motion and a second on that. And this is up for discussion now. So if anybody wants to bring up any amendments, I know that it was deferred yesterday at rules. It passed 4-2 at neighborhoods. So I'm just going to kind of start off with my thoughts on why it was deferred. And I know that Mr. Freeman has some concerns regarding EWU or certain parties not reaching out to him. So I know that they're going to more than likely at some point convene and have conversations. For that reason, I will more than likely defer it myself because I want to make sure that this money, it's not Aries' money, this is all our money. And if one person from our group feels like they haven't had their questions answered, then I'm going to hold it up. And I made that very clear last time. I want to make sure that everybody, all the 5 entities, reach out to all of the 19 council members. So because of that reason, I'm going to definitely defer this at the end. But we are going to take action today on any amendments. I know that I have one amendment as it is, which is the TDC amendment, the $3 million. So if anybody else has any other amendments, please put yourself on the queue now. Right now I see Mr. Matt Carlucci. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just here whenever it's my turn or opportunity to speak to the affordable housing portion of the whole thing. So I don't think that's now, but I'm not up to date on when everything's going to be in order. So just let you know I'm here.
All right. Thank you, sir.
And I'm here to support your bill.
Thank you, sir. You spoke very highly of it yesterday, so thank you for that. All right. Let's get to work. Ms. Pittman.
going to talk about the amendment, and you're going to do that now, or?
I'm gonna pass up my amendment. I'm gonna pass the gavel to Vice President Howland.
Okay, all right. I do have a question once you finish.
Okay,
Thank
sure.
you.
So I will be passing the gavel now, and I'll be making an amendment to be able to acquire $3 million from TDC and have it offset $6 million from UNF. So UNF will have $3 million for TDC and the $3 million from the original proposed, and then that's going to open up $3 million for us to decide on what to do with it. But that's my amendment as it is. So, Ms. Stefopoulos, if you want to orchestrate that in a better way, you can.
Through the chair, to the chair, you might want to, Mr. Vice Chair, ask for a second first, and then
Yeah, looking for a second on the motion made by Councilman Arias. We have a second. Over to you, Ms. Stefopoulos.
So as Mr. Arias indicated, the intention, and he has expressed this in prior committee meetings, is that they identify that there's $3 million available through TDC that can be applied towards those projects that would involve tourism or promotion of tourism. So he's proposing that to offset $3 million from the original 15, use TDC dollars for that instead, apply it to the UNF project. And then, so what that would entail is we would just attach a revised BT that would reflect the use of those dollars from TDC, and then the $3 million that it's offsetting would just remain in the contingency that it's currently in and would not be appropriated out through the bill. So that wouldn't change the term sheets or anything else. It would just be the BT and the language in the bill that would change.
Thank you, Ms. Stefopoulos. I note that we've been joined by Dr. Johnson, and we do have a motion and a second on the amendment. We have Dr. Johnson in the queue.
Thank you so much. I'm here for another bill, but I wanted to say while this is up, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, I just wanted to thank you all. While this is not on the amendment specifically, I'm thankful for the opportunity to defer this. I have not heard from a few of the applicants in the bill, and I finally heard from them on yesterday evening after 6 o'clock. And I think that it's important for all of us, whether we be on this committee or on this council, to vet this completely, because it's important that we need to have a public purpose and a return on the investment for the city. And I think that's what the pause is, at least for me. So thank you for kind of slow rolling this so that we have all the data that we need to make sure this is the right decision.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Recognizing now Councilwoman Pittman.
I guess I don't know who's the right one to ask the question, either CDC or you all, regarding the $3 million, right? I'm just concerned, and I haven't had a chance to talk to anyone regarding this. It will open up a Pandora's box, right? And I'm just concerned, and I don't know all of the pieces yet, and I haven't heard from the executive director or any of the board members, but I want to know how that would work, and have they ever given any other organization this amount of money? Oh, okay. Can someone from the organization please come and answer TDC and answer my question, please?
Do we have Ms. Brock in the... All right, come on up. Councilwoman Pittman has a question for you. And Ms. Pittman, would you please restate the question for Ms. Brock?
Okay. I'd like to know, one, because I hadn't heard from anyone from your organization, has this amount of money been given to any other educational institution or any other business in the community? $3 million. I'm just curious, because I feel like if they haven't, it will open the door for other things. So if you can just kind of help me understand. Thank you.
Thank you. Carol Brock, Executive Director of TDC. Through the chair, this will be the largest amount we've given to one organization at one time.
And how much would that leave your organization?
So, and Mr. Peterson can help on this if needed. This money will be coming out of the fund balance. I think he stated the other day it had around $7 million. With the $3 million coming out, if that's the proposal, it would leave us with $4 million.
So that's a lot of money as far as I'm concerned, from one institution. and other institutions will feel like if they can give them $3 million, Edward Waters might think the same thing. And how would we stop? Are there any processes, or is it for capital? Is it for operations? Tell me, what is that going to be used for? Anybody?
Through the chair to Councilmember Pittman. So the Florida statutes outline how TDC dollars can be used, and the biggest impediment is that it must be a publicly owned facility. And I use the term facility because it can include a coliseum, a stadium, an auditorium, a number of things, but the facility must be publicly owned. So in your example of Edward Waters, that would not apply because they're a privately owned institution. For UNF, the TDC has given money to UNF in the past for improvements at their track and field facility, just never to this dollar amount. It's been in I think a $900,000 one comes to mind, maybe $1.5 million years ago. But the impediment is the Florida statute limitation that it must be on a publicly owned facility. Okay.
And how long ago has it been since you all given them money? How many? $3 million? No, I just want to know, how long has it been? Has it been a year? Has it been 2 years since you all have given them money?
So may I, through the chair, approximately 4 years ago, we gave them around $900,000, I believe it was, for track improvements, and then we did 1.4 about 3 years ago, and they just finished that up maybe 2 years ago. It was for the video display, for the throwing field, for the lighting system, and for the clerking station. So that was a total of $2.5 million, and we have given some grants along the years for $1.1 million.
Okay. So again, my point is, it has to be a city facility, right? Or public facility. So it could be a nonprofit that's open. It's a public facility, right? What other types of facilities other than, a governmental? Okay. I'm just going to say I have a little bit of heartburn about that. And I don't know how y'all feel about it in terms of taking their money when we have other events, incentive. I know that we're looking to bring the associations of counties here, and they need funding for that. I'm just trying to figure it out. $3 million is a lot of money when you've already given them 2 point something for less than 4 years ago. So I don't know if I'm a yes on this or not. I need to hear some more conversation.
Okay, over to Councilman Arias, followed by Mr. Joe Carlucci.
Sorry, Joe. All right, valid questions. I've been working with TDC for months, almost a year on this. As you're well aware, during the budget process, I was able to tap into TDC dollars for the art sculpture from MoCA, $500,000. And Mr. Peterson could probably give us more feedback on this, but there are separate funds that we're talking about here. And the money that we're talking about, Phil, can you please elaborate on that? Because that money we put into that every year. And to your point, but to kind of go against that is, it's not their money, it's our money, right? So let's be clear of that. And what we're going to do with our money is for our city. And so, Mr. Peterson, if you could kind of go over the fund as to how it generates revenue and the type of funds that we have and where these dollars are coming from exactly.
So through the chair to the committee, the TDC, as you are well aware, we budget about $10 to $11 million in revenue each year. And that has been increasing over the past few years due to our increased economic activity. Within the TDC, they have two, they're separate funds, but one's for a contingency. So anything that might come up during the year, They have, Ms. Brock, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe about $1 million left in that fund to fund anything that just is an unforeseen project or an event or anything that would fall under the allowable uses of Florida statutes. And TDC does not have to come back to council to use those dollars. That was a change in the ordinance code within the last 2 or 3 years. There's a second fund that they have that's called a development fund that has about $2 million in it that is meant to fund infrastructure-related improvements that fall under the allowable uses of the Florida statutes. That does have to come back for ultimate council approval, but they do have $2 million sitting in there. And so if they became aware or were asked for those dollars, the TDC board would take that up, and then that piece of legislation would proceed through the council process, I assume, by the council president as he's the chair of the TDC. The third fund is just the TDC reserves, which historically we have advised that they try not to go below about $3 million, because if there is any type of downturn in the economy, they're not funded by the general fund at all. They're solely reliant on bed tax revenues. And so any downturn in the economy, they need to be able to absorb that, and they do that through their reserves. Their reserves have been built up over the last probably 4 or 5 years. We're in the plus $7 million range right now. They are undergoing a strategic plan on what to do with those dollars and the best use of those dollars, but that is something that has not yet come to a final completion or a recommendation. So those are the 3 different large funds, and then they, of course, have their annual operating budget where they fund numerous event grants throughout the year. They fund the Visit Jacksonville contract at roughly $7 million. It's probably a little bit more. And then the administration of Ms. Brock and her entire operation.
I just would say,
Sorry, ma'am.
I just wanted to ask you a question. Can I put if I have a question, another question?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
So I just want to elaborate some more onto this, Mr. Peterson. So to Ms. Pittman's point, the Association of Counties that we're working on, right, which I'll be going there later on today to visit them, that's under the events grant section. And currently, as it is, we have 1.3 being allocated to events grant. And I've spoken to Ms. Brock about the events that they have, that they sponsor. Supergirl Surf Sports, PGA Tours, the players. And then they have also one grant called Special Events Grant for $900,000, just very vague. Then they have Equestrian Center stuff, and then they have planning and research. So their whole budget is really broken down to great details. Then they have the contracts with Visit Jacks for over $4.7 million. And then they have First Coast Golf contract for $180,000, which I've told them multiple times for the last 3 years that I've been on council. That's the one contract that they need to remove completely, because we're already funding PGA Tours, the players, or we were at least at one point. And we don't need a market for the golf tourism here in Jacksonville. People know that we are a mecca for golf here with the PGA Tour. So why are we spending $180,000 on First Coast Golf contracts? That's another conversation for another day. The point here is that they have a healthy reserves and they haven't been tapped into. And we have needs in our community, and UNF component of it, they attract the best of the best for NCAA tournaments. There was a track and field meet here that generated hundreds of thousands of dollars in hotel revenue, and that's how they generate their revenue through the bed tax. So this is one of the opportunities that I found that we could definitely tap into, because this is a publicly owned building through government, through our city. I feel your need. I initially wanted to get $5 million from there, but then because of the whole stipulation of the 30% or $3 million threshold, I said, okay, well, I spoke to Ms. Brock, and I asked her, what's a healthy number for us to come to an agreement with? She confirmed with me $3 million is the number she'll be happy with. So I know I have her support on this, unless it's changed, Ms. Brock, and you could definitely state it on the record that you've changed your support. But I want to say, when you and I had the conversation, I talked about 4 or 5. $3 million was a magic number. Is that still a healthy number that you're happy with?
So, Chair, I can't make that decision. The board would have to make that decision.
Yeah.
I'm
not talking about what the board is going to decide on, because we have people here from the board. You, as Carol Brock, you and I had a conversation, $3 million. If the board votes it up, which hopefully they do, or they don't, whatever the case is, are you okay with $3 million? Because that's what you told me.
Again, I know we had the conversation, but I can't commit to that dollar amount. That's
Not
why we
asking
have
you
the
to commit.
$9.
I'm not asking you to commit, ma'am. I'm asking you if you would be okay with it, because that's the issue that Ms. Pittman has right now, and I want to make sure that she knows that you're in support of this.
I can't support it either way as a staff member. That's why we have Council President as the chair and Mr. Howland, Council Vice President, as the vice chair.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. All right, you may have a seat. So here's the thing. Right now, as it is, these are our dollars. They're sitting on dollars right now that are not being used. All right? We need to do what's right for our community. UNF, they need these dollars. And this is one of the ways that we could easily come to a table for all of us to work together. I know that Mr. Mike Carlucci has some action item he wants to take up, and I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page with this. So I think I've already spoken enough on this part. So, Mr. Vice President, you continue on, please.
Okay, let me recognize committee members first, but I know you're on the queue, Mr. Carlucci. Over to Mr. Joe Carlucci, followed by Dr. Salem, followed by Ms. Pittman. And then we'll go Mr. Carlucci, then Dr. Johnson.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, first blush, I think it's I think it's a smart move, and I think we've done this. I think there was even another instance just during budget hearings where we said, no, we're not going to fund this out of general fund. You need to go to TDC. Like, that's what that money is for. So if it frees up $3 million in the bill, 385, that allows us to use those dollars for other things, which is, I think, kind of what Councilmember Johnson, yourself, and Councilmember Gaffney filed. That was pulling dollars from 385 because this $3 million is getting freed up. So that in and of itself is kind of a good move, in my opinion. And NCAA tournaments, that is big tourism. That is a big business. So I think it's worth the $3 million. It's a big number. I get that, but I see it as a worthwhile endeavor, because those tournaments are not like a one-time thing. It's a reoccurring thing. So I'm totally good with that. I'm happy to hear the rest of the committee's comments. Eager to hear Council Vice President's comments. But that's sort of where I'm at right now as far as the move goes, from pulling $3 million from TDC, freeing up that kind of the rest of that $3 million from the 15 that was in the bill. So that's where I'm at right now. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you, sir. Over to Dr. Salem, followed by Ms. Pittman.
Let me begin by saying I've served on TDC for several years and been involved in sports for many years, and I am very concerned that we are restarting the budget process by pulling this $3 million out, and there's going to be a grab bag of how we spend that money. We might as well be back in August going through the budget process. That's what's going to happen here. So a number of $1 million should be kept in TDC. Downturn in the economy is one reason, and if some type of special event came to Jacksonville that was unbudgeted, those dollars are there to host that. Unless that money is put in a contingency for our budget process coming forward, that is the only way that I'm going to support it. I'm not going to support here where we're going to give $1 million for this and $1 million for this and $1 million for that, and we're right back in August. Why are we doing that? The $15 million is there to take care of UNF. So while we're pulling from TDC to free up $3 million that we can then spend, I don't think it's appropriate unless it's in a contingency for the budget. Just to give you an example, I thought long and hard about using that $200,000 out of the contingency, out of the budget stabilization fund for the Northeast Florida, for the food at our last council meeting. I knew where it was coming from. We started with $3 million, we were down to $1 million, and here I am taking $200,000. I felt like that was an emergency to feed people. I reconciled it under that circumstance. I am not going to take $3 million with my vote to start spreading around to housing or whatever else comes up through a discussion. We did that. We passed that budget September 30th. So if it's not in a contingency, I'm not going to support it. Thank you. 100% of it.
Thank you, Dr. Salem. Over to Ms. Pittman, followed by Mr. Matt Carlucci.
Councilman Salem, I agree with everything you said. I guess what bothers me the most, and I don't even know if their board had a chance to even have a conversation about what we're discussing, and I don't know if anybody, is the board president here?
That is Councilman Carrico.
Who?
And I'm the chair of the TDC is Councilman Carrico, and I'm vice chair.
Okay. So again, you all are two people, 2 of 9. So I'm not comfortable with that right now. Okay. It almost feels like almost like a bullying tactic. Just because it's our money, it doesn't mean that it's not the courtesy of all of the board members and the executive director. The executive director, they can say whatever. I'm the executive director of the Clear White Mission. I can say something, but I can't do nothing unless my board approves it. And so to me, it's a sticky situation, although we can do it because we're in charge. But is it fair? Is it a courtesy? No, it's not. And then again, if you open it up for them, for UNF, you got to open it up for everybody else just because they got money. Let's do it the right way. That's all I'm saying. When I saw that, and even though we want to take $2 million for the SNAP gap or whatever, I wasn't aware of this going really into the conversations start happening. I got information. That's when I was like, okay, I can't support that. And so I don't know if you want to, put it in contingency and more discussion about it. But as of right now that I know what I know, and the board hasn't had an opportunity with everybody on it, I can't support that.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Lannon, are you happy going after Matt Carlucci since I already called on him twice? Okay, Mr. Carlucci, Mr. Lannon, since he's on the committee, then Dr. Johnson.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And let me preface by saying I appreciate Council Chair Arias trying to help me with affordable housing. That's what he's trying to do, and I appreciate it. And I told him I'm going to support his bill whether I get any affordable housing or not, and I stick to my word. Let me tell you the clean way to do this. This is the best way to do it. And I felt like this, and I had a conversation with Michael Corrigan this morning, and this is the way we ought to do it. This would be the proper protocol. If I can get everybody's attention, I'm not criticizing, I just want everybody to hear what I think. I think we ought to cut the TDC money loose. Then you got the full $15 million to take care of what Councilman Arias wants to do with his dollars, correct? Okay. I appreciate you trying to find $3 million for me. I really do. I think the best thing to do, leave me on my own. I'm a big boy, and I can go to TDC and I can talk with them. Is Ms. Brock still here? Ms. Brock, could she come up, Mr. Chair? Could I ask her to come too? Okay. So through the chair to Ms. Brock, what I would like to propose, forget the $3 million. Let's just forget that up here, pass the chairman's bill. If that has the votes, forget about my $3 million. Just forget about it. I will go to the TDC and to the board if I can have the opportunity to speak before the board and let them know what I wanted to do, and if there's any amount, be it $2, $100, or whatever that the entire board might consider that I could use. Well, we couldn't do that because you can't use TDC money for affordable housing. So, you know what? Y'all keep your money. Just keep it. And I'll find the money I need somewhere else. I had $9 million at one point. Then I had $3 million. And it all vanished. And affordable housing is a very big issue in this city, whether we want to admit it or not, it is. And I have worked my tail off to try to find dollars, and I appreciate the chair, Chairman Arias, trying to find it. But I'm old school, and I don't believe that I would be comfortable taking money away in a roundabout way from TDC in order to help me accomplish what I want to accomplish. I'll find the daggum money somehow. I'll go over to Kim Taylor and a hat in hand on my knees and Phil and see if I can figure it out somewhere. And then if y'all don't like it, like you normally don't like it, some of y'all, you can shoot it down. But I'll scrounge up 10 votes, and I'll get the affordable housing money, and I want to do that in order to get this logjam done and to do it the right way. Okay? So just forget about the affordable housing. Y'all do what you want to do with the chair's bill. I support it, and put the $3 million aside. Don't worry about it. Use the full $15 million. Does that sound fair? Well, I'm just asking for a few nods, particularly since we have somebody on the TDC there.
I was nodding that I'm on TDC. It wasn't nodding. Over to Mr. Lane.
You didn't understand what I was trying to say, but one day maybe you will.
I understand what you're trying to say. Mr. Lane, followed by Dr. Johnson, then Councilman Arias, then Mr. Carlucci.
Thank you, Chair. This will be very boring and hard to follow former Council President Carlucci. Just a level set, though, here on the Arias amendment. It's $3 million from TDC, which would then leave $12 million from the special counsel contingency. The part I got confused on, we're not talking about doing something more with $3 million yet, correct? That is the amendment. If I could just get clarified on what that is. My understanding is we passed the Arias amendment. It's $12 million from the council contingency fund. That was originally going to be $15. $3 million from TDC, which will be designated for UNF, specifically the Hodges Stadium portion, which is the only eligible part of that. And so now there is no other $3 million for something else. It's still $15 million to spend just in two funding sources. Now, if I could just get clarification on that.
Through the chair to Councilmember Lane, and you are correct. So what would happen is if the amendment passes and the council takes an action to approve the use of the TDC funds, that just leaves that $3 million that would have come out of the council contingency in the council contingency. If there's a desire to use it for some other purpose, a council member could come forward with a separate piece of legislation to do so.
Through Chair, thank you, Ms. Stefopoulos. I can tell you my desire is that we don't increase spend through this process, but if we want to discuss this as a funding source, I'm fine with that. And I would like to put Council Vice President on the spot here since he is a member of the TDC. I know you've had some conversations about this. I'll be honest, I do not know a ton about the workings of the TDC, but would certainly welcome your input and thoughts on the $3 million.
Since I'm currently chair, I'll wait till all the comments are done before I have my say. Over to Councilman Arias. It's Dr. Johnson, sorry.
Thank you so much. I didn't know that Finance Committee gets this spicy. I feel like I'm between a rock and a hard place, but that's okay, Mr. Chair. Let me ask a few questions. First of all, I must say, while I do certainly respect former Council President Carlucci, I do not agree with him, and I hope that we don't just pull back on those funds. I respect the great work that the councilman has done with affordable housing and the work that we can continue to do. And I certainly believe that these funds are a way. I appreciate the work that Chairman Arias has done as well to find ways to realize the vision that the former council president has had. And so that's why I think this is so very important. This doesn't take money away in a roundabout way. And so I have some questions to ask first about publicly owned facilities. One of the organizations that we're speaking of today, which I rarely have spoken on the dais, but I do have this question, is Edward Waters University. Edward Waters has been, in the past 5 years, given about $9 million by this council, 4.5 for the Neck Lover Stadium, $4 million for Richardson Hall, and another $500,000 for the Sam Newby Fitness Center. My question is public buildings. While I do understand that those facilities are owned and managed, I think, by Edward Waters, I don't know the contract. I haven't gotten that deep into it. Would those facilities that were built using those public funds be...
Dr. Johnson, before I ask that question, we're on the amendment, but I understand you can't speak to the amendment without addressing larger questions related to the bill. So your question is accepted.
Because it's about the amendment. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Through the chair. Would that be considered, based on what you said, a public building, since the building is for public use?
Through the chair to Councilmember Johnson, it would not. So the statute says it has to be a publicly owned and operated facility. Okay. The $8 to $9 million you referenced for Edward Waters over the past 5 or 6 years,
yes, sir,
did not come from TDC dollars. That was just straight general fund contributions.
But the reason for that question, I hope you understand, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, was based on Councilwoman Pittman's assertion about that public building. So I wanted to clear that up. The next thing is, however, the University of North Florida's building, similar to, as Ms. Brock stated, the track is a facility that would be considered public due to the fact that it is a state school. Can you clarify that for me, please?
Through the chair to Councilmember Johnson, yes, in my discussions with Office of General Counsel, that is exactly the delineation, is because it is owned by the state.
So that's why there would be two separate things. And if I may, quickly, Ms. Brock, I wanted to ask you a question. I know you mentioned that there were $900,000 in funds given to the University of North Florida for track improvements. Do we have any statistics or return on investment based on, and I just know because I like athletics, that they had several international track meets come. Do we have any specific details on the dollar amounts that were generated for the city based on those out-of-town people coming in and spending money in Duval County?
Ms. Brock, you're recognized.
Yes, through the chair. We do. I don't have them with me, Nick may, but every grant that we've given to UNF for these improvements were based on increasing tourism and hotel nights, and they absolutely did.
I would love to, and not to put you on the spot, but thank you for indulging me, Chair, Mr. Vice Chair. If possible, if you could send it, and I'm sure the other members would like to see it as well, but if you could send it to us so that we could get those numbers, because I think if we look on the fact that there was an investment made and the return on the investment would probably pale in comparison to what was invested, we would then see that maybe we don't want to just snatch the money from TDC, but it does make quite a bit of sense to invest the money back in something like a UNF so that we see more money coming to TDC because there are more heads in beds. Thank you for indulging me.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Chair Arias, followed by Councilman Joe Carlucci.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. So, Dr. Johnson, you bring up great questions, and I have the representatives from UNF to answer those questions. So, if you don't mind, please come to the podium and state your name and address, please.
Mr. Morrow, you're recognized.
Yes, Nick Morrow, Athletic Director. I appreciate the time and conversation. Yeah, numbers are great, and the return on investment is there. Over the past 13 years, since we got into the track business, it's the first time we hosted the NCAA track meet, the first time we hosted that high school state championship. We've generated over 200,000 room nights and over $160 million. That's just track season at Hodges Stadium over the past 13 years. Since we got that investment from TDC about 4 years ago, our average room night and average impact per year has gone up. A direct correlation in the investment that was made into Hodges Stadium. This next investment, we strongly believe that, again, we'll see an increase in average number of room nights and economic impact that Hodges Stadium can generate.
Thank you, sir. All right, that is if any information today was important, this is it right here. The return on investment is far superior to any ROI numbers that we've seen in the past. The reason why I've even approached TDC and Ms. Brock on this is because I know the kind of value we're going to get with UNF coming to a table with this. It's 1,000 times folds the kind of investment we're going to get, which means by them creating this new track field, it's actually going to generate more bed tax, meaning more money into the TDC. We're not just taking money out. We're actually going to put more money faster into the TDC. If anything, we're going to help out the TDC. But one more thing I want to make sure that we're clear is I have a sheet here that says 4 permittable uses for TDC dollars. One is to acquire, construct, expand, enlarge, remodel, repair, improve, maintain, operate, and promote one or more publicly owned and operated convention centers, auditoriums that are publicly owned and operated, aquariums and museums, to promote zoological parks and publicly owned, operated, and then to promote advertisement and tourism in the state, and to fund the convention bureaus, tourist bureaus, and all that. These are the only uses we could have. So I know that somebody asked the question, can we use it for something else? No, we can't. Like, we have 4 line items. That's all we can use it for. It's very seldom that we actually get to have an opportunity where we can say, these are the dollars that we can actually use, which is one of the reasons why the TDC dollar is growing every year, because it's really hard to use those dollars. So by taking $3 million out, you're still leaving a healthy $4 million in there that they could use for any kind of needs that they need. And every year it gets replenished more and more constantly. So it's not like we're draining it and then that's it. Like, it's going to be replenished every year. As you heard from Nick from UNF, over $160 million in the last 13 years from bed taxes alone, and 200,000 room night visits. So I still want to proceed with the TDC dollars because that's the reason why we have these dollars. That's it. I love tourism. Everybody knows I love Visit Jax, I love TDC, I love everything they do. You see me on social media, I'm constantly promoting everything. But at the end of the day, we have these dollars to be used, not to just sit in an account for no reason. And there's only 4 permittable uses. This is one of them. Let's get to work on this. That's all. Thank you.
Over to Councilman Joe Carlucci, followed by Dr. Salem, followed by Ms. Pittman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair, and that's exactly what I had written down on my paper. I mean, this is what the TDC money is there for, and I think, it's funny, Councilmember Matt Carlucci, that's what he kind of figured out in his line of questioning was this is a collegial move, and I applaud Chair Arias for doing it because we have money sitting in an account that can be used for something that's in this bill. So carving out $3 million, using tourist dollars only for that, and freeing up another $3 million to help another colleague's initiative, which is a priority of more than just Councilmember Carlucci. Like, that's a good thing. I don't understand why that's a problem. I'm so confused by that. Their coffers get filled up every year. I don't think this is a bullying move. I don't like the word snatching money from them. This is an observation that we saw that was permissible and fitting for their dollars to be used, and they're still going to vote on it. Like, that's totally in our purview. I don't see it as we're snatching money away from them. I see we have an opportunity in front of us to accomplish a bunch of different things with a bunch of wins here for Jacksonville. So why not do that? I mean, I think it's a great thing. I'm going to support it, and I think it's going to lead to a good outcome. So that's all I had to say.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Salem, followed by Ms. Pittman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Let me answer my good friend and colleague. As I said earlier, we went through a budget process. We appropriated $900,000 towards affordable housing after much discussion. I don't know what this $3 million is going to be used for. All we're talking about is pulling out $3 million, but no one says what it's going to be used for. So you're asking me to approve this without knowing what it's, and if it goes into a contingency and stays there, I'm okay.
What point of clarification?
But if it goes towards, but
I have a point of
additional
clarification.
spending, I'm not comfortable with that.
Recognize, sir.
I believe a point of clarification can be.
Let Dr. Salem finish, then I'll recognize you.
That's my concern. We finished the budget September 30th. And now we're going back and adding more money to things that some people believe are appropriate. There's a lot of things I could add money to, personally, but the budget was finished. So as I said, if the $3 million is going to stay in a contingency and be used as a budget stabilization fund or something like that, I'm all there. But if it's going to be used for something else, I'm not.
Let me recognize Mr. Matt Carlucci on his point of clarification. Go ahead, sir.
A point of clarification can be called anytime.
Except not mid-sentence. He's allowed to finish his thoughts.
Perhaps.
Sorry, Ms. Stavropoulos, can you clarify?
To the vice chair, I was just clarifying under the council rules, I think what he's talking about as a point of order can only be called by a member of the body. So in this case, the committee.
Okay, I'll give you leeway, sir. Just your point, please.
Yeah, well, some people have the privilege of being on 2 or 3 committees. Some don't. My point of clarification is I wouldn't ask for $2 million for just anything. It was for the down payment assistance for affordable housing, Councilmember Salem. That's what it was for. And I made that clear, and I've made it clear over and over and over and over and over again. So now you know.
All right. Dr. Salem, you're done with your comments? Okay, then we're going to recognize Ms. Pittman, and we've just been joined by Councilman Diamond, who's a member of the committee. He'll go next. Ms. Pittman, please.
I still want to say, and I hear everything that you all are saying. My main issue, and I know you're saying they get money every year. I don't even know what that dollar amount is. Can you tell me what that dollar amount is for every year?
Through the chair to Councilwoman Pittman. So the TDC budgets their full anticipated revenue, which this year is about $11 million, and that's broken into, I think they have 6 or 7 plan components that are outlined in Chapter 666 that are approved by council. That's marketing, convention spaces, event grants, a planning and research component, the administration, the development account, the contingency account, the equestrian center, and I'm sure I'm forgetting one.
Okay.
Destination experience. So amongst those 8 categories, that $11 million is divvied up based on how the TDC takes a vote in the April, May, June timeframe, makes a recommendation to the mayor. Usually that's included in the budget to council, and I don't know that I've ever seen council change that from what TDC has requested. So I hope that answered your question.
So this wouldn't be a concern. That money is spread over all of those different entities that you said. But the funding that this would come out of, which is which one again?
So through the chair to Councilman Pittman, I now understand where you're going. So that the annual budget is spread over those 8 or so accounts.
Mm-hmm.
Any savings that they have in a year falls to the reserves, and any revenue collections that they have over budget goes into the reserves. And so that reserve has been built up to this about $7.5 million amount.
Okay. So that would be, I know you know where I'm going with this. So my point, again, not bullying, because I felt like that. And so this is me feeling that you haven't included the board, the total board members, as well as I know what the executive director said, but that's not for her to say. She can't tell us the amount that you all agreed on. That's my only concern. I just felt like, and y'all know, I'd like to get both sides, not that, we just gonna take out of your money, however we want to call it. I just think we need to do a better job of including whatever department, not just this one, but other departments within the city. If we need something, there's a way to do it. That's all I'm saying. If going forward, if money is put in those different entities that we do, and we need to use it, I'm all for that. But what I'm not for supporting is how it's being done. And I just want you to keep that in mind, not that we don't need it. I don't like the way it was done. Okay? Thank you.
All right, for the first time, Councilman Roy Diamond, followed by Mr. Joe Carlucci.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just, for everyone's edification, our Director of Disability Services, Kara Tucker, her mom is in the hospital. Looks really bad, so it'd be great for all of us to say a prayer for her and her mom, who's a wonderful lady. She's like a mom to me. And then reach out to her because she's having a very bad day, as you can imagine. So I'm just back from there, so thank you for being late. I'm a no on this. To me, we have a budget process. We went through a budget process. The whole point of a budget process is to have everything on the table so you can look at our priorities and say, we're going to spend money here but not there. We're going to spend this much there but not here. And when you do things like this, these add-ins after the fact, you're you might as well not have a budget process. We'll just take things as they come up when people get excited about them. So I'm a no on this. Taking the money from TDC is especially odd to me for this one because it's just not related. And so I do think we should have some respect to TDC for that. But I do see that there's money there. I'm not like stupid, but in my brain, as Councilman Salem says, do it as a stabilization bill, and then we're going to be better chair next year when we've got all these other problems that we're going to have to deal with. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
All right, over to Mr. Carlucci. He's the last speaker, so I'll finally be able to, since I'm holding the chair right now, express my opinion as a TDC member.
Okay, no, just last thing, and yeah, I mean, I think it's completely related because it's tourism dollars that UNF is asking for, and we can use it for that. So I definitely think there's a relation there. And again, when I hear the budget process, this has nothing to do with the budget process. This has to do with the money that is in this current contingency account that is being used for these items. So we are in the proper posture. This is not, we didn't and won't talk about this at budget next year. This isn't a budget issue. This is a bill that I filed, and we all worked through it on the last council in June, and $15 million was set aside and $30 million was set aside. And that's what this money is being used for right now. So if there's $3 million left over because of the TDC swap, we can call it, then it's just sitting there. It's just sitting there like it currently is. So that's just an observation and why I'm going to be supporting the TDC money.
All right, thank you, Mr. Carlucci. And now I'll express my opinion, and then I'll entertain the vote since the amendment was proposed by Chair Arias. And then once we have the vote on the amendment, I'll turn it over to Mr. Arias. But I support the amendment. As the Vice Chair of TDC, I'm just one of 9 members of TDC. The chair is Council President Carrico, and also on TDC is former Council President White. I believe this is a legitimate use, and I'll support it even though I'm mindful of the precedent it sets. It is a big chunk, $3 million of the 7+ that's in there in that particular account right now. But I'm also supporting it because of a larger issue with respect to the bill. I do have concerns with this bill simply because of the dissimilarities of the entities within it. It does feel a little bit, to Councilman Salem and Councilman Diamond's points, as a budget bill. It's $15 million. And anytime you're dealing with spending taxpayer money, it's all about priorities, whether it's specifically within the budget period or anytime we're looking at larger bills. Workforce development has always been a priority of mine, and I applaud Councilman Arias for moving that forward as part of this bill. I think this will do a great job for growing the trades in the city of Jacksonville. Some of the others I have concerns with, but these concerns can be alleviated, and I think the TDC spend on behalf of UNF helps me alleviate that particular piece. So the reason I'm partly voting yes on, or that I'm voting yes on this amendment and voted yes on the substitute earlier, is that both of those are making this bill better. That said, after workforce development, my priority, you've heard it discussed earlier in this meeting, we had a $62 million deficit. It dropped by $5 million to $57 million. And now with the collective bargaining passage next Tuesday night, it'll increase to, what did you say, $67 million. So we have a $67 million projected budget deficit next year. So after supporting what I always say are the core responsibilities of government, public safety, infrastructure, essential city services, I would always next want to create jobs and grow workforce development. But I want to do so in a fiscally responsible way. And what I would do with this money, if we pass this amendment and $3 million is left in this account, is I would propose that we put it directly to reducing the future budget deficit next year, taking it from $67 million to $64. And then I would say we keep doing that throughout the year. Anytime we find pockets of value or other money or other spend, we look and say, is this more important than closing the budget deficit we have next year, which is a burden on taxpayers? And the way to do that is not necessarily put that money, that $3 million, into a budget stabilization fund, because we've seen that that fund can be emptied anytime. It would be to take, for example, this $3 million left over and put it towards prepay on something that directly affects the budget deficit next year. We know there are 3 or 4 completion grants that make up about $49 million of that $67 million budget deficit next year. I would put it to one of those completely. So if this does pass right now, I'll consider and likely submit by legislation filing deadline this week, a bill to take that $3 million and put it towards next year's budget deficit to address Councilman Salem's earlier question. I wouldn't put it in budget stabilization. I'd put it towards one of those completion grants so it directly reduces the budget deficit. That's why, both from a TDC perspective and a broader perspective, I'll be yes on this amendment. We actually, before we vote now, we have a new entry on the queue. It's Dr. Salem.
If this amendment passes, that $3 million can be spent with 10 votes or 13 votes? 13 votes. Thank you.
And to your point, Dr. Salem, I'm just one of 19 council members, so anyone can file a bill to do something with it.
That's my concern. If I was 100% convinced that your amendment would pass and we could put it towards one of the completion grants, I'm there. I'm concerned that there's going to be 4 people running to Mary as soon as this meeting ends to spend that money. That's why I'm a no, because I don't believe it will get where you want it to be.
Makes sense. And with that, we have no other speakers in the queue, so we're ready for a vote on the amendment, which is to use $3 million from the specific TDC fund towards the UNF portion of this bill, 2025-0781. All right, we will do this vote by hand. All in favor of the amendment indicate by raising your hand. And just for completeness, all against the amendment, please raise your hand. The amendment passes 4-3. And I will turn the chair back over to Chairman Arias.
Thank you, Vice Chair Howland. Mr. Fabulous, just point of clarification on this part. Now that we've passed this amendment, the TDC has to take action on this? Do they have to vote, or are we good to go now? Is there like any voting action by the TDC?
To the chair, no, they don't have to take any action. The council has the authority to appropriate the dollars as you proposed. I'll just remind you that this is an amendment to the substitute that you had previously voted on. So what I would ask, Mr. Chair, is if we could roll this amendment into the substitute and create a finance substitute. And if you want to move, we could just leave it there. If you're inclined to defer, then what we would do is, if you're amenable to letting us roll it in, we'll file the finance substitute. You can defer the action till the next meeting, as you had indicated at the beginning, in which case, if there are further changes that the committee desires to make when it comes back the first week of December, we would take those up and then potentially roll those into a second finance substitute.
Okay. All right. So yeah, let's move it into a finance substitute if that's the case. I don't see any other speakers on the queue for any other amendment.
So, Mr. Chair, I would just ask if you would move for a verbal approval, the finance substitute.
Motion and second to move the finance substitute. All right. I see no other speakers on the queue. No other amendments. Anybody else want to chime in? Are we good? All right, cool. So we are going to verbal vote. All in favor of the finance substitute indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. All right, so finance substitute passes. And so, yeah, as I stated earlier today, out of respect to some council members that haven't had time to speak to some of the entities, I'll be deferring it. Just for the record, this is my second time deferring it. I'm not deferring this anymore. I hope that everybody has their questions answered, and I hope that the 5 entities, please just reach out to whoever you need to reach out to. We're literally holding back a lot of other people. So I just want to make sure that we move forward, because we have one last committee and one last council meeting before the break. Actually, 2 more council meetings, so I definitely want to wrap this up before the break. All right. So this bill, which is 2025-0781, has been deferred. Yes, Mr. Johnson, you're recognized. My apologies.
That's okay, Mr. Chair. I just had a question for you. So is this bill, I've been monitoring it. Obviously, I have, vested interest. I want to see the community work with this. Do you think there's a case that it would be severed? Because that's what I was a little confused about with the 5 entities that are in it, like to sever it and create several pieces of legislation, or is that not something that's being considered?
I'm telling you right now, as the bill introducer, I'm not severing this bill. If somebody wants to make that motion, anybody could do those kind of motions, obviously. If you get the support, you get the support. But my idea is to have this as one entire bill, as I drafted it from the beginning. But anybody can make that motion. Anybody could have made that motion tonight, honestly. But I guess we'll hear it at the next committee meeting, if that's the case. Mr. Salem, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to apologize to the schools that have come to multiple meetings, sat patiently to answer questions, and you're going to have to come back now again for committee meetings and council meetings. I think that's unfortunate. I feel bad for you.
Yeah.
But that's the process we've got. I do appreciate you being here, but I wish we could have moved this in a much more quicker fashion to where you didn't have to spend all your time here. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Mr. Salem. All right. Now, Mr. Papadis, we took up number 10, so we're going on to number 11, correct? Yep.
Correct, Mr. Chair.
All right. So going on to 2025-0813.
Move the amendment.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Mr. Peterson.
Yes, sir. Through the chair of the committee, the amendment will clarify the funding sources coming from general fund operating reserves. Will include a BT number within the bill for future reference, correct various scribblers, and then attach a clean copy of the settlement agreement as a revised Exhibit 1.
All right. No speakers in the queue for the amendment. All in favor of the amendment indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say nay.
Move the bill as amended.
Motion and second on the bill as amended. Open the ballot and record your vote.
Six yeas, 0 nays.
All right, by your motion, 2025-0813 passes. Going on to number 12, 2025-0814.
Move the bill.
Motion and a second on the bill. No speakers in the queue. And we are going to open the ballot and record your vote.
All right.
Yeah.
6 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion 2025-0814 passes. Going on to number 13, 2025-0815.
Move the neighborhoods amendment.
Motion and second on the neighborhoods amendment. Mr. Peterson.
Through the chair to the committee. Neighborhoods amendment is correcting the current rent for the Marina Support Building, including the missing sections 3 and 4 from the filed legislation, correcting Scribner's errors. Placing a revised agreement on file to revise the hotel RDA to update the legal the description of the Marina Support Building to reflect the reduction down to 6,000 square feet, updating the address, clarifying the timeline for the developer to enter into the Marina Management and Marina Support Building lease for the 18 to 6 month window prior to completion of those projects, clarifying the deadline for the marina improvements, bulkhead improvements, pier improvements, and riverwalk improvements that they must be done by August 30th of 2026, striking conflicting language regarding the developer's responsibility for funding the cost of the traffic calming improvements. They'll be responsible for any cost over the state grant that the city is pursuing, and clarifying the developer's contribution for the traffic calming improvements will occur at completion of the project. Revising the Marina Support Building lease to reference the updated RDA, update the address, require 30 days notice by the tenant for scheduling large events on the events lawn, and including a definition of capital repair and capital maintenance, as that will now be a city responsibility. Revising the Marina Management Agreement to reference the updated RDA within the whereas clauses, revising the Riverwalk Cost Disbursement Agreement to correct Scribner's errors, correcting Scribner's errors within various exhibits in the total RDA, removing the office building redevelopment agreement and duplicate copies of exhibits that were not a part of this amendment, and then also including the disbursement requestment form for the hotel RDA.
All right, thank you for that. Mr. Salem, you're in the queue on the amendment. No? Oh, okay, that's what I figured. All right, so no other speakers on the queue for the amendment. All in favor of the amendment indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The neighborhoods amendment passes. All right, Mr. Salem, recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I have an amendment to this, and I'll let Mary go through it. My understanding, it's been agreed upon between the developer, OGC, DIA, and the auditors. Thank you.
Through the chair to the committee. So each of you has received a handout that references the summary of what the developer's requested amendments are, and this was brought up briefly during the Neighborhoods Committee meeting as well, and Mr. DiBenale can certainly answer any specific questions. My understanding is that DIA and OGC are all were both aware of the requested changes and there weren't any objections to any of them. I'm assuming that the final language would be worked out as they finalize the contracts. So based on your handout, the hotel RDA would be revised to remove the completion guarantee as an exhibit to the hotel RDA and include it as a standalone document. It would clarify that the funding agreement for the traffic calming improvements will be subject to City Council approval through subsequent legislation. It would clarify that the REV grant shall increase in an amount equal to A, the amount the developer funds to the city to cover such shortfall, and B, the amount the developer spends for design and engineering costs of the traffic calming improvements as documented to the DIA, subject to the maximum amount of $56,581,200. It would also remove the tower crane license agreement as an exhibit to the hotel RDA and include it as a standalone document. And finally, it would include in the marina management agreement a provision that the availability of the marina and any rental rates charged for use of the marina shall be identical to those assessed to residents for the 12 counties within the Florida Inland Navigation District.
All right, thank you for that. Mr. Howland, you recognize. We have a motion and a second, yes. Not Howland on this?
On the Salem Amendment.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say item number 4 on the Salem Amendment, the Marina Management Agreement as part of the Salem Amendment originally gave me pause because it felt like we're fixing marina rates rather than let the market fix marina rates. But as I understand it, with just conversation with the auditors, Iguana, who's the marina manager, has accepted this. And you can give me a nod, Mr. DiBenau, and that, yeah.
Yes, sir. Steve DiBenau, 1 Independent Drive, Suite 1200, here on behalf of Iguana. Yes, we agree with that language. That was actually that was our suggested language.
Okay, then we're going to have attractive rates because I'm guessing as you look towards the St. John's or the Florida Inland Navigation District, that would include rates they would charge, for example, in Putnam County or others. So when you average the 12 counties involved, you're going to have lower than potentially market rates in downtown Jacksonville.
I don't know exactly how it works in the statute, but I know that my partner who does submerged land leases said that this was the appropriate language to put in.
All right.
We're comfortable with it.
Heard it here first. All right. Thank you, Steve.
And Mr. Chairman, I had one more thing I wanted to address. I mean, we agree with all of these amendments, but if you would, there's one other item I wanted to address.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Is it pertaining to this?
No, it's not. I'm sorry.
All right. So if that's the case, no other speakers in the queue. All in favor of the Salem Amendment indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. All right. Salem Amendment passes. And now, Mr. DiBenau, I'll recognize you.
So, Mr. Chairman, at neighborhoods, Mr. Salem made an additional amendment that I think carried over yesterday afternoon regarding the timing of funding for the improvements to Bay Street. And his amendment was that Iguana would pay for the funding of that improvement at CO or after the project was completed. In talking about this with DIA and Public Works, they actually are constrained from a procurement perspective. They can't let a contract go unless they actually have the funding available. And so while we appreciate the amendment that Mr. Salem made, it's not practical for the way that Public Works and DIA procure these services. So we met with Mr. Parola and came up with the language that's before you. I know he had some back and forth with John Sawyer. And so the language that Philip just passed out is basically saying that the Bay Street improvements may be made through a series of contracts. There may be multiple construction contracts. And when the contract begins, if it's for $3 million or less, the state funding would pay for it. But if there's a shortfall when we get to the second or the third contract, then Iguana would have to pay that additional amount of money when the construction contract is signed in order to make sure that we aren't running afoul of procurement issues. So the two sentences that Mr. Peterson just passed out captured that concept. And I would ask Mr. Salem if you would consider moving this language as an alternative to your amendment the other day. And this is the first time you're hearing about it because we just finished talking about this guy and I did about an hour ago.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Chair. Number one, Public Works, I'm looking at you, Nina. You're okay with this? This language, have you seen it? You've not seen it. Well, let's pause for a minute to make sure that Public Works is comfortable with this. But procedurally, through the chair to Mary, would I have to withdraw my previous amendment from neighborhoods?
Through the chair to Councilmember Salem, no, because that was approved in neighborhoods. So what I would say is if you end up moving this and it gets approved, when we, at the end, I will confirm to the committee that if we can roll it up into a finance amendment, it would supplant on what was listed on your agenda on page 11 for the neighborhoods amendment, item number 4.6. It would supplant that. So it would be addressed through the finance amendment that way.
The auditors are okay with this? Okay. I see, I hesitate to say Mr. Sawyer's back there looking at it, it appears, and Public Works. So I'd like to get a green light from them, Mr. Deave, now before we move it.
Absolutely. And again, Chairman, thank you for your indulgence. We were just trying to be proactive and solve this issue at committee rather than waiting until next Tuesday. Because practically, although Iguana appreciates your idea, I don't think it practically works in the real world for Public Works and DIA. So we tried to come up with an alternative so we would have a clean amendment for Tuesday night.
Completely understand. We can pause for a second, Mr. Chair, to see if they can come to an agreement while we're sitting here.
Mr. Chair, would you like to table the item and read through your seconds and then take up the final item that's an emergency, or would you like to just...
Great idea, Mary.
Okay.
Yes, let's do that.
Okay.
All right, so we are going to table 2025-0815. Moving on now to, let's see, 1 second. We do have an emergency, number 22 on page 16, 2025-0858. Have you guys already taken up the emergency? Or not yet? No? All right, let's take it
Mr.
up
Chair,
now.
no.
We have a motion and a second on the emergency.
Mr. Chair, so there's a couple of options that were discussed amongst the neighborhood committee, and it also came up in rules. Would you like me to go through those before you vote?
Yep.
Because it would affect how you take an action on the emergency. So after the council agreed to allow this to be moved from an in and out emergency to a one-cycle emergency, we determined that because the council meeting fell on a Wednesday instead of a Tuesday, that didn't leave Legislative Services opportunity to file the appropriate advertisement for the bill with the Daily Record so that the public hearing at council that would occur could be advertised under the statute. So there were two options that were addressed initially, and I brought those up in neighborhoods. One, the committee could take action to deny the emergency today and allow the bill to fall to second reading, and then it would come back for discussion, amendment, and vote the first week of December, and it would come to council for action and a public hearing on December 9th. The other option was that the committee could withdraw the bill and allow Dr. Johnson the opportunity to address some changes that would have needed to be made and to file an additional bill as an in and out emergency. At rules yesterday, Dr. Johnson conveyed that his preference would be to deny the emergency and allow the bill to just go through the regular legislative cycle, and then we can advertise that public hearing for December 9th. But now that he's present, I'll allow him to speak on where he stands at this point.
All right, I would like to introduce the bill sponsor, Mr. Johnson. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Fopoulos. You explained it well. And I appreciate all the work that everyone has done for this. I know they're not here, but council members Gaffney and Pittman as well. I want to just give a little feedback and ask if the committee could move something for me. But as you know, this was so important, and I wouldn't have gotten involved had I not been walking down the hall. I was doing things in the community, but I was walking down the hall, and Ms. King from Feeding Northeast Florida kind of pulled me to the side. And I sat in my office, and I'm like, well, what can I do? And so that's why I convened a noticed meeting, which I invited everyone to. I invited the community to, and I must say that Feeding Northeast Florida did not come to that meeting. However, I did things the right way. I made sure that I reached out to not just the folk in the administration, but economists at other universities. I looked at the numbers of SNAP benefits, and council districts, how people were affected, and that's how we came up with the funds. The beautiful thing I'd have to say is that the $200,000, which I co-sponsored and supported, was a catalytic moment for this city. This city was able to come together in ways that I've not seen. People like I was at former council member Katrina Brown's family. The Browns had a barbecue giveaway, and we fed 500 or 600 people. There are other businesses that saw that, literally from my district, that called me and said, hey, we want to do the same thing. And I tell you that because I've been in touch with Isaiah Oliver from the Community Foundation and Ms. Patz from the United. All of these organizations are getting people coming to the table because they see the work that we did. So I'd like to first say thank you, Dr. Salem and former President Salem, former President Carrico, for putting that legislation together. And I want the community to understand it wasn't competing legislation. We just didn't know. With Sunshine, we weren't talking to each other. We didn't know. I was working on something based on what I knew. They were working on something based on what they knew. It's important for us the community, knowing that the Sunshine Law does not allow us to walk into each other's office and start talking. What it does is allows the community to talk amongst themselves. So when they come to us with all of the myriad things that we have to do, if they could come in a unified voice to say, hey, this is what helps the community. But what we saw is the community galvanizing after we did that action. So I'm thankful for that. With that, I would like to propose a withdrawal of the SNAP Gap Relief Act. I will tell you that if this is something that comes up, I will be monitoring it. I am committed to this. If it's something that we need to find those funds, I will be the first one to put this out to, again, do the work that we did and to push it forward. So I'd like to thank you for at least considering it and giving me the time. And I'm not withdrawing this just willy-nilly because it's not there, the votes aren't there. I did the research. I spoke to these organizations. I looked at the data of the people that they had coming in and that they were serving or not. And that's why it's the most intelligent thing to do, at least in my opinion, to withdraw this legislation. Hope that understands. Thank you. You understand?
Before we do we need to withdraw the emergency? Because that's on the table right now.
So long as the mover of the emergency and the seconder want to withdraw it and there's no objection, you can consider it
I
withdrawn.
think it was Mr. Carlucci who moved and Mr. Laney who seconded.
Yep.
Mr. Carlucci, do you withdraw the emergency? All right. Now we can entertain.
We have a motion and a second to move to withdraw. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Ballot vote. So we're going to ballot vote this now.
Six yeas, 0 nays.
All right, motion 2025-0858 has been withdrawn.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, sir. All right, now we're going back to page 12,
So, Mr. Chair,
11.
the Public Works Department and Mr. Sawyer have conferred with respect to the language that was handed out. Mr. Sawyer has noted there's one recommended change, and then I have another item from Mr. Peterson. If you would like, I can read it onto the record based off of the handout that you have.
Do that, please.
And then after that, Dr. Salem can determine whether he intends to offer the formal amendment. So the language would read, it is anticipated that the Bay Street traffic calming project will be constructed in multiple phases pursuant to multiple construction contracts. Should any contract amount in the aggregate exceed available state funds, the Jaguars, which I think we would just need to reference the appropriate organization because it's not the Jaguars, will fund any shortfall prior to such construction contract execution. So the addition is in the aggregate there where I noted, and then we would just add the correct corporate entity that it's the party that would be responsible.
All right, Mr. Salem, you're recognized.
I'm looking at Ms. Sickler. You're okay. Mr. Sawyer, you're okay. Auditors, you're okay. So can I just move this new language?
Yes, Mr. Salem, or Dr. Salem, if you want to move it as I read onto the record.
Please. That's my motion.
We have a motion and a second on that amendment. All in favor of the amendment indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The amendment passes. Mr. Diamond, you're recognized. Nope. All right.
Mr. Chair, if we could roll those up into create one finance amendment, if that's acceptable to the committee, then you would just need to take a motion on the bill as amended.
All right.
I move the bill as amended.
We have a motion and a second to move the bill as a finance amendment. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Sorry. Mr. Holland, you're recognized.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to speak on the motion, on the bill as amended, and just say that although we're increasing the Rev grant here potential by about $6 million, I see Mr. Prola's nodding his head. I think he knows what I'm about to say. There's actually a benefit to the city by doing this. Because Iguana has agreed to do the road diet on Bay Street and pay for it up front, and we're reimbursing them on a up-to-cost basis over a Rev grant in future years. So it ends up that the city gathers and collects the time value of money in this particular project and funding situation. So I'm supportive of this Rev grant increase, and thank you, Iguana, for bringing it to us. Hopefully it improves traffic on Bay Street. Thanks.
All right, thank you. With that being said, let's open up the ballot and record your vote.
6 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, motion 2025-0815 passes. And then the following are on second reading. So we're looking at 2025-0834, 0835, 0836, 0837, 0838, 0839, 0841. Mr. Diamond, we're not done yet. 0842. And that completes our meeting. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.